Hospital. And today we have Brittany, and Nicole has helped. She's going to come in and give some assistance. You're going to be a regular here.
I am. I
It's,
enjoy it, Stan.
well, I tell you
just
what, I don't
need
know
to
what
hang
to
out
do.
with you more often.
Can't keep her off the air. That's okay. That's not a problem. We can handle that. Here at the KSMO studios, though, we want to tell everybody that it's going to be another warm day today. So I know one of the things that I've asked Nicole to remind people about is staying well hydrated, and that's not as easy as people think. Somebody says, "Oh, I'm going to go out today and I'm going to get all my yard work done." Well, did you drink enough water yesterday? Well, I don't need to, as long as I stay drinking today. That's not the way it works, is it?
Absolutely. No, and I think what I struggle with the most is the question, how much?
Mm-hmm.
So often the baseline is always 64 ounces. It's always been that for adults. However, I think whenever, like you said, you're working outside so much more, it's the question, well, how much more do I actually need? I'm a big supporter of urine color, to be honest with you. If you can have a light yellow, you know you're well hydrated. It is a visible sign I am well hydrated.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having a dark yellow, any foul odor, anything among that, you are dehydrated and you need to drink more. The problem is people continually ask, well, water, Gatorade, Powerade, what do I really need? And bottom line, your body is 60% water. You need water more than any other beverage you're going to have. I think there is a place and a time for sports drinks, for electrolyte replacement.
Sure.
Obviously, especially if you're out there in mid-game, you absolutely need some of that. But I think we have just downplayed water so much to the point that we get so little of it and so much of our sports drinks in that we actually can dehydrate ourselves and cause more problems with electrolyte imbalance. So
and let's I'm not taking anything away from you, Brittany. We're going to get to you in just a second. But the importance of it is you don't want to get dehydrated because your liver and your kidneys and things of that nature need water.
Absolutely.
And if you deprive them of water, bad things can happen,
Absolutely.
right?
Your kidneys don't function as well anymore. We have a harder time expelling impurities from your body. It makes you incredibly sick. Going in, you can be hospitalized just for dehydration,
Right.
and we have to give you IV fluid. So it's incredibly important, especially for kids. I think they're just so bored that at this point, they don't care that it's 100-degree weather coming up. They just
Right.
want to be outside and get out of that house. But it is a huge concern with, are you going to go inside, cool off, and also don't chug the water. You need to sip on it. Go slow. We've talked about this. Fast eating, fast drinking.
Yeah.
Don't do it. You need to give your body some time. That can make you just as sick to sit there and chug it nonstop, especially really, really cold ice water. I love doing it. However, you need to slow down a little bit to be able to get the full benefit and to also not throw up. Oftentimes, you will. I promise. Kids think they're invincible, but I promise you're going to go and throw all that up and then you have no benefit.
I know, and you can, and so, but you're absolutely right. But we also want to remind people too, when we talk about staying well hydrated, is when you do physical activity in a condition like this, when the humidity is high and you do perspire quite a bit, and they say, "Okay, I'm done," and they have a bottle of water, a glass of water, whatever. Your body's metabolism is still going 110 miles an hour. And so that water you just put in, it's already gone, and you need to continue to rehydrate
all day long.
because your body is still expelling the impurities.
Yes.
Trust me, if you've got something that you have eaten bad, it'll come out.
It will
out.
Very
you know what I'm
true.
saying? A lot of people,
Very
they
true.
love that spicy Mexican food, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, you're outside perspiring real heavy, that spicy Mexican food will come right out your
I feel
pores.
like you've had experience.
Oh, I
Stan.
have. It was
I don't know that it went well for you.
well, you start, it's just different on your clothes because it gets on your clothes, and then really it can sometimes almost ruin your clothes. You can't get that out. It's terrible.
This is something
but it's
I
terrible.
actually didn't know, Stan.
Yeah,
I've never
no,
had this
that's
experience.
With hockey and stuff. Yeah,
Oh,
the
I
real
gotcha.
Stuff.
The
but
real stuff.
When you, it wasn't Mexican food. Okay, something else. But however, the when it mixes with your perspiration, it has its own odor, and it has its own type of stain. And that stain doesn't come out. And so you want to make sure that you stay well hydrated. That's the biggest idea is
Absolutely.
when you perspire, hopefully that perspire should come out easy. A lot of people, when they perspire and they have had garlicky meals and things and that sweat gets in their eyes, it burns. It's going to
Absolutely.
really bad.
Absolutely.
And so you want to make sure that, you do eat the proper foods as well. So we're not
Absolutely.
just talking about going out there and chugging down 5 triple cheeseburgers. That's probably not the best meal to have. But then one bottle of water is not going to take care of it. So nutrition at this time of year,
It's
fruits,
so
vegetables,
important.
got to have them. Got to have your protein because you got to keep you got to keep that up
Absolutely.
as well. But don't just concentrate on one thing.
I do want to also remind that we tend to push protein so much. You can't adequately absorb protein and use it for muscle building if you don't have some carbohydrates with it.
Right.
So it's so important to have both going in, whether you want to focus on beans, fruit, not necessarily pasta and cheeseburgers and things like that, but just trying to make sure you do have some carbohydrate intake with that high dose of protein is incredibly important for good muscle building for athletes.
Right. As this time of year, that's a lot of that is going on.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
very good.
I have no problem with protein drinks, supplements. Those are still highly beneficial, but you do have to make sure you have adequate carbohydrates going in with them.
Absolutely.
I would like to give some of the recommendations just for the age ranges for fluid
Absolutely.
for athletes, just to make sure that we have those. And I'm just going to read them off. If you're middle school age, you want 2.4 liters. Now, remember, a liter is 33.8 ounces. So it is quite a bit, but that's still highly recommended for that age range. If you're middle school age, 14 up to high school, 3.3 liters is highly recommended. So we do have to make sure that we're getting in. That is a lot of water. That is not one bottle that's 16 ounces. We're talking 4 of those a day
Yeah.
is what we really want. And that's, for me, again, I always look at doing that, as well as if you feel like you've been sweating a lot, it's fine to go ahead and have a Gatorade or a Powerade to go with that, but we need the water. Don't replace what water you're taking in with a Powerade. Oftentimes I get, well, I did 16 ounces of a Gatorade, so I can just do 3 bottles of water. No, we really need that on top of your actual recommendation. So it's just incredibly important to make sure you're doing that.
Very good. Very good. And one of the great ways of doing that is to have a bottle of water with your meal, or 2, or just have a glass of water,
Absolutely.
a 10, 12 ounce glass of water, and then hopefully you refill it a couple times while you're eating. So that will
Absolutely.
give you time to rehydrate, and also allows you to fill up your stomach without overeating. And as you
Yes.
say, in the summertime, we tend to go and go and go, and then all of a sudden we're starving to death, and we think we can eat a whole bunch,
Absolutely.
and then we start adding the water onto it. The next thing you know is the stomach starts to gurgle a tad bit.
Absolutely. Well, and even with the meals, I always tell all of my clients, especially ones that are coming for weight loss, don't drink a non-water beverage with the meal. The whole point of fluid with a meal is so you don't get choked, not necessarily for taste and pleasure.
right.
So drinking that non-water beverage in between can provide that pleasure and that taste that you're looking for. But it's just a great time to throw water in with a meal just to make sure you're getting it down well.
But one of the things in the summertime, I was told a long time ago, watch out for caffeinated and high
Yes.
sugar drinks, because it will make you thirstier. You'll dehydrate quicker.
Yes, absolutely you will. So really looking at, even if you need a pick-me-up, a soda is not a great option for that in the midst of the day. Trying to just eat healthier can actually provide you with more energy. I think a lot of people forget that. They're just so hungry. They're like, oh, I'm just going to go get a burger and fries and a Coke and call it good, and I'll get my caffeine kick for the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Well, just eating a healthier meal actually could provide it without the caffeine, just
Right.
due to the fact that you have good antioxidants getting all those impurities out, and having that oxidation actually gives you more energy throughout the day.
Piece of fruit, a sandwich, or something of that
Absolutely.
nature would be
Absolutely.
just as good.
Great salad. We can do
we
it.
all love fries, but sometimes
Absolutely.
you, you don't need as many. But like you said, though, you still got to have carbs. So
Yes.
balance your meals.
But
Balance
also
your meals.
remember, fruit is carbs. I
Yes,
think
it
we have a
is.
misunderstanding that carbs is white things or just pastas alone.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates are still in beans. They're still in fruits. They
Sure,
still have
sure.
carbohydrate-based vegetables. There are other ways to do it.
Some people like to limit their fruit to a couple slices. If I'm going to get an apple, I want the
Right.
whole
I
apple.
want the whole thing now.
I don't want a couple slices.
No.
I remember when I played hockey, they used to give us oranges, and they used to cut them into eighths out of
Yeah.
an orange. and they used to have them sitting there, and I thought, give me the orange.
Right. I want the
I
whole
want the
thing.
whole orange. And they're like, no, we had to cut them up. So people just put them in their mouth, basically just get them off quickly and then throw them away. And that was part when you're on the bench, you can't.
Sure.
Don't have time to eat
Right,
peel an orange and eat
Understand.
But anyway, but I thought, but
can
just
you
give me 8 of them.
Right. Can you peel at least 10
Yeah.
to start the game?
Well,
with?
yeah, some guys don't want that. They don't want the orange. I mean, everybody's got their own way of doing it.
Sure.
And that's why when we're here to talk a little bit about sports, and we're here with Brittany's going to talk a little bit about sports medicine program that was started last year at the Salem R80 High School. First off, Brittany, good to have you here. The last time you were here, our former CEO, or I should say COO.
COO.
Yeah. Chris Strickland was with you and then introduced you and what was going to be happening with the plan. So how did the first year go at Salem High School with the sports medicine program?
It was good. Mainly what we did, we went to this the sports, whatever we could get to. We went to, had an ambulance crew at whatever they could get to as well. On the sidelines, we went to school once a week. So they could come in, students could come in, be assessed for anything that they were having an issue with or had concerns with. Nicole is joining me now up at the school once a week when we're there to kind of answer nutrition questions. So if they have something that they're concerned about with eating or how they could improve their diet for performance or anything like that. But we were there to help, like kinesio taping, which is a therapeutic taping,
Right.
any kind of assessment. This past year, we included sports physicals up
Okay.
at the school. So we did that for the sports team.
But one of the neat things about it was this is an ongoing thing. It's not.
Yes.
You didn't wait for somebody to get hurt to
Right.
finally assess them. You were trying to prevent them from getting
Yes,
hurt. That's the whole
absolutely.
idea, right?
Yep. And that's what we were pushing for this year. We were talking about in our meetings, and that's what we were kind of headed toward or striving for, is to kind of help the coaches implement some different things into helping prevent injuries. That's our whole purpose, is we want to prevent the injuries before they happen.
Sure.
We don't want to be there just to assess an injury and treat an injury.
But you're there for that as well.
We
once
are,
it does
absolutely,
happen.
yes.
Absolutely, right?
Yes.
Well, and I think it's such a great benefit that we're on site so that if it happens mid-practice, Brittany can get out there, she can be able to assess it very quickly, and I can provide some nutrition tips for, hey, let's get you healed quickly so we can get you back out there. That's the whole point that we're here.
Right.
So I think just having that service available to the kids and making sure that they're aware that we are here and on site for you
Right.
is just such a benefit to them. And we do go out to the team's practice if they're outside just to make sure, hey, we're here today. Make sure you know that if you have any questions.
And also, at this time of year, we all know cramps and Charlie horses are usually the big problem because, first off, they haven't hydrated enough for the most
Right,
part.
we're back to hydration.
And then their potassium levels, as they start to exercise more, have dropped.
Right.
And so when they have that, a lot of times people all of a sudden, you get that Charlie horse or you get that cramp. And I mean, anybody that's ever got one, you stop in your tracks usually pretty quick
Right.
until you can work it out. And a lot of times it just takes a little bit of pressure to work it out. And other times, I mean, it'll actually knot up on you and it takes a lot of work to get that
Right.
out. And that's one of the benefits I always saw with this program is things like that immediately. Sometimes you get back in the game because you can work it out, and other
Sure.
times you think you work it out, and the first time they take a hard step, it's right back.
Right.
So, I mean, that assessment is huge because you can hurt yourself worse
Right.
trying to overcompensate for
Absolutely.
that Charlie horse.
Absolutely. Yep. The muscles and everything work all together. So if you have one thing that's not working properly and you get that Charlie horse and trying to push through it, you're liable to cause injury to other things, tear that muscle. There's a whole slew of things that could could happen from that if we don't treat it properly. Or
And that's not something most people even consider.
Right.
When I know as a coach years ago, when somebody got a Charlie horse, I said, okay, go sit down and work it out. Then when they said they're ready to come back in, I'd go and I'd grab the muscle. If I could feel that Charlie horse still in there, you're not going back in until you work it out.
Right.
And they said, well, I did work it out. I said, no, don't try and be a hero. Work it out to where that should be flaccid in there, not as tight as a drum. And if it's tight as a drum, you go back out there, you're gonna do more damage.
Sure.
So it's sometimes kids don't always tell you though, do they?
No. Not at all. No, they just, a lot of times they want to play and they want to get back in, so they come
Right.
over. No, the coach sent me over here, but I'm okay, and I want to go back in, but
But that's where your experience comes into big play.
Right.
Especially when they say they're okay and then they walk away limping.
Yes.
Probably not okay.
Right.
Or they got a little bit of a stiff knee or something of that nature. Injuries in sports are always going to happen.
Right.
But a lot of them can be prevented, and a lot of
Absolutely.
them you can actually, well, I remember an old coach told me, he says, I can watch you play and I can tell if you're hurt. And I can tell if you're going to get worse. Yeah, and that's one of the things when you're around these kids that so often, you know what's normal and what's not.
right. Yeah, and we've been trained to look at movement patterns. So I can be out on the field and watch them play, say, oh, their hip isn't doing something where it's supposed to be doing, or their knee is acting funny, or just watching them walk or watching them run or throw. We can usually assess and kind of look at, okay, something's not right here. You can almost predict kind of what's going to happen if it's not treated or fixed.
When the
But-
body is working right, it really is, it has a fluidity to it, doesn't
Correct.
it? And if something's wrong, that fluidity changes. Whether it may shorten their stride 6 inches,
Right.
or maybe straighten their leg out too soon, or their arms are out of whack. And the arms and legs are supposed to work in tandem, right?
Correct.
And if they're not working in tandem, something's out of whack.
Right.
See, and that's the kind of thing you're talking about, right?
Yeah, that, or a lot of times I'll see like a leg kind of swing out to the
Yeah.
side, or a toe flips out to the side, or something like that. So you know you got some kind of imbalance going on. That's
Maybe a little hip problem
Right.
there, huh? Yeah. Now, as we go through sports, a lot of times people don't realize how important when they are conditioning is to condition properly.
correct.
You know, a lot of people, some of the weightlifters, I know years ago, they used to say, it doesn't matter how you get the weight up, just get it up. No, that's probably not the best advice to
Right.
have, because as you're working out, and, if the weight isn't enough, you want to push yourself. You always hear about athletes pushing themselves, but you don't want to push yourself to the point that you're going to cause an injury.
Correct.
The injury could be to your shoulder. It could be your rotator cuff. It could be your lower back. It could be your upper back. I mean, there's a lot of different things. By jerking a bar wrong, picking up a suitcase wrong, anything wrong can do some damage to you that may be lasting for years.
Right. And I've seen that too. I've seen where kids are trying to compete against each other. And so I can lift this much weight. Well, I'll lift this much more. Where they're not focusing on how they're lifting, the position that they're in, that they're lifting. So they try and just kind of compete and don't really think about the proper mechanics that they're lifting, how they're lifting.
Right. Even though they were showed the proper mechanics,
Correct.
it's when that competitive juices start to flow.
Right.
They might tend to overextend a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
And that's another part. I mean, that's why I think sports medicine is so important, because I think people lose track in thinking, well, it's just a sports injury. Tennis elbow or something of that nature. Oh, we can take care of that. Yeah, you really can't.
Right.
You got it. You got it. You're not going to get rid of it. I mean, you can make it better,
Right.
but you can go have it again within a month or two afterwards if you go back to doing the way you used to do it.
Absolutely.
Kind of crazy, isn't
Yep.
it? But that's all in your mind. So you have to learn to do it right, and that's where rehab
Correct.
kind of comes
Right.
in too. When you work with these people, you rehab them the correct way, right?
Correct. We can do some rehab. Work with TheraBands are great for rehab. Proper squatting techniques, a big one. Running, even the strides, getting your arms moving properly, stuff like that. We can work with and help with some of that.
So when you do that with the kids, do they feed back to you? Do they tell you they feel that difference?
Some, yeah. Some of them do. Some of them, it's just kind of a motion and then it's right back. But it's one of those muscle memory things. You have to keep on it, keep working it. It's not just a one-time fix and then, oh, I'm going to do this on the field and it'd be like that forever.
Do it 3 times and you're good for life, right?
Right. So it's
Doesn't work
a
that way.
training thing. And that's what CDC is recommending now, too, with the sports teams to do. If they are meeting to work on skills, work on drills and training. So learn the mechanics of it first before you start playing. And especially after they've been out of school for so long. Big to do to start
I'll bet.
back into it.
So let's say somebody has an injury. Do you work with the coaches and then say, okay, this is what we have found. This are the types of exercises they need to strengthen that muscle, strengthen that tendon, whatever. Do you work with the individual coach and player so that the coach knows what the player is going to have to do to get better?
Sometimes. Most of the time, the athlete comes in. We have a room set up at school, so the athlete comes in, or they can come to one of our offices if they need us. But then I'll assess them, kind of do some orthopedic exercise type things, kind of look at what's going on. And then if the coach comes in with them, sometimes they do, sometimes they stay at practice.
Sure.
But if the coach comes in, I'll kind of relay to them. They'll kind of watch what I do. But if not, I kind of teach the student what to do. And then if we need to refer them out somewhere to do something, we'll do that. And then they'll kind of either meet me back up at school the next week or come to my office and we'll do further stuff with their parents. There, but I always write a note or give them some kind of recommendations as far as what needs to be done so the coaches know or their parents know.
Yeah, because it's very important. I mean, the student, one-on-one with a student is very important.
Right.
But to have your eyes looking, but if you're not at that practice, to have the coach's eye looking, say, if he starts to do this, probably need to shut him down.
Right.
Because you don't want anybody to get seriously hurt.
Right.
Playing a sport. That's not the idea. The idea is to have, first off, it makes you, I think it keeps you sharper. When people play sports, you have to learn, right? So in learning, whether you learn where you have to be on a football field, what hole you have to open, who you have to block, or whether you're learning, where to be on the floor in basketball and who to defend, you're learning. You're always learning.
Right.
So the mind stays active, but then you have to put the physical attributes to it. And when you put those two together, it just seems to become more of a whole person.
Absolutely.
And then when you do that, you feel better about yourself.
Right.
And you actually stay in pretty good shape.
Right.
So, a lot of times when we get out of school, unfortunately, we stop doing athletic things. We tend to get more sedentary, and we like to find ourselves watching TV and,
Absolutely.
sitting there at the computer for 12 hours, and trying to find things on the internet or whatever. So really, sports program is just a basic start for a lot of these people for the rest of their life.
Sure.
So,
Absolutely.
when you explain to these people what you're doing, and just say somebody has an injury and say, okay, next time you get this, you can actually take care of this yourself, because after you've walked them through that, you hopefully they have learned, okay, if I get a cramp, this is what I need to do.
Right.
First off, Nicole will say, drink more water.
Drink more water. Eat good food.
Eat the right foods, right?
Absolutely.
And I was always taught a long time ago, now this goes back in the 70s when I was playing Division I college hockey, when they would give you your menu items. This is it. This is what you eat. Okay, that's what you will. And they were always a full meal with a salad, a meat, a protein, a carbohydrate, water, and then they'd always have a dessert with it would be a fruit, just be a piece of fruit. Or it could be, if we were really good, a little bit of ice cream with a piece of fruit. like peaches, maybe
Sure.
peaches, a little bit of ice cream. All right, but that was it. It wasn't much,
Right.
but your meal was dictated to you, and that's it. Now, the only thing is that, some guys are a lot bigger than other guys. So when you had these big guys, the meal wasn't enough. That would they dictate the amount that we got. So they would always let them have another little extra share, so which is okay. I mean, if
Right.
somebody's 280 and I'm 155, they're twice
You
my
can
size.
have another serving, and that's
They
okay.
get another serving. So, the coaches were really pretty good back then in making sure of that. The only problem is outside that arena, the discipline to what you ate wasn't always there. And you
Right.
could always tell the guys that would be eating the pizzas 7 times a week, or burgers or fries or tacos or, it is important that when you are playing sports that you eat properly the whole season, the
Absolutely.
whole time, right?
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you can stray a little bit. Jason
Sure.
always says you can cheat once in a great while.
Cheat meal, yeah.
Okay, you can
We
have that
love our
triple
cheat
cheeseburger and
meals.
shake.
Yes.
However, the next day you're probably going to feel it because you're coming out of your range of normal meals,
Right.
and it may feel different. You may feel, instead of just let's go get them. You're like, I don't feel like going to get them right now,
Right.
because it does change.
Mm-hmm.
So. One of the things when you start talking about nutrition, that's why I think when you get involved with the nutritional meals, if they stay on that nutrition course, a lot of these injuries that they're coming up with actually may never happen.
Right.
Right. Well, and I think it's that willpower to want that, to want to premeditate a decision to, I'm going to decrease inflammation naturally through these food items to do this. Something else that can really help with things you were talking about, injury and cramping, and not just potassium but also magnesium, and it's a natural muscle relaxant. And the problem that I come across so often is don't do the supplement. We want a quick fix. We want to eat whatever we want to eat and then throw a potassium supplement there and a magnesium supplement, maybe a fish oil. And while all of these things are great at injury prevention, decreasing inflammation, it is so much better used if you get it out of your food items, and you just go through and think, I'm going to have nuts and seeds, I'm going to do good healthy meats, I'm going to have this well-balanced meal. But again, it's that choice to be disciplined enough to do it and the willpower to actually want to do that.
And in many cases, I've often heard the supplements that you have, 90% of it is flushed out of your system anyway. You don't really get the true value of what's in that supplement. Now, in a food, it has to go through your entire digestive system, so you have
Absolutely.
you suck it more out of out of the food that you ate, rather than a supplement which may go in, dissolve,
Absolutely.
and pass quickly.
Well, and some of these kids too, they may have limited food choices at home. They may not be able to have a ton of options. So I would never ever want the family to feel like they need to waste money buying a supplement whenever you could use that to buy so many good food choices for them at home.
Which would be good for everybody in the family.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
it
it's not just
would.
for the
Yes.
athlete,
So I never ever want that pressure to be there. Oh, go buy this supplement. No, please don't. We can always do it through food. If you don't know how to do it, let me know and I'll help you and I'll show you how to do it.
Very good. And the wide range of vitamins are available in all our foods that are available here.
It's just the knowledge that you need to understand what are those foods, what might be some good options, but also what do I enjoy? That's oftentimes where I start. Here's a list of foods. I want you to highlight what you like on it, and I'm going to tell you what's in it and when you need to put it in. It works so much easier that way.
And anti-inflammation foods, people may not even know what they are, but are so important because as an athlete, whenever you do tax your body, guess what? Your joints get inflamed. I mean, that's just the way they are. And if you do nothing to take them down over a period of time, well, guess what starts to happen? You do get arthritis. I got some arthritis in my knees, probably from playing hockey and bending and twisting in 5 million different directions. Didn't know your knees could go in. But they can.
They can, Stan.
But when they come back, they may not like the way you did that. But it's very important to get the right foods in there to naturally draw down that inflammation, not to go. Well, you probably seen it in basketball. The guys get done playing basketball and they got their knees just wrapped in ice. Yeah, that's a quick way to get the inflammation down until but the pain isn't gone. The problem with the knees isn't gone. It's just taking the inflammation down immediately. Ice gets it down there, but then as soon as they try and walk away, my knees are stiff and they're not moving anywhere. But if you can do it naturally through foods, then your knees, elbows, shoulders, hips, they're naturally lubricated and the inflammation is drawn down naturally.
Absolutely.
Which
But
is so much better.
I think it's important to also point out with that, it is not like a pill that you can take after, so don't go ice and then go eat a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables and think your inflammation is going to go away. It is something that you have to do. It has to be just normal, everyday practice for you. It will consistently keep the inflammation lower.
Right.
It's so important.
It won't eliminate
that.
it. It just keeps it down, and it keeps you more flexible.
Functional.
And flexible and good stuff. You want to always do that. as in a sports medicine program, and now that Nicole is on board, do you guys put together a plan for each individual, or is it by team, or do you wait for them to come to you?
Right now, it's for them coming to us. We're there. I know we have talked to some of the coaches and say, if your team wants this, we will do something. But right now, it's been more on an individual basis. But
And I
we
think
would love
it's-
to do something as
Yeah.
for the teams. Or
I think it's just about presence right now.
Right.
Just making sure that they're fully aware we're here, we're available to help you in any way, shape, or form. And also just the kids knowing as well, too. And that's,
Right.
I think, before I came on, what I understood they did a lot of was just making sure, hey, we're here.
Yeah.
And knowing
Sure.
what that is and
Oh.
what that looks like. And then making sure the kids are just comfortable to vocalize, hey, I need some
Absolutely.
help.
Right.
And sometimes that's just really hard. And
Yeah.
they need to create that rapport with the coaches for them to even recommend it.
It is hard to ask for help.
It
Yeah.
is
When
hard.
you think you're an athlete and you think, I'm a big, strong football player. You might be a big, strong football player, but that doesn't mean you're not eating right, and it doesn't mean you can't get hurt. You can.
absolutely.
Right.
You can. And that is one of the nice things, with having both of you doing this. It's a great way to not only take care of the injuries physically, but also internally by eating the right foods
Right.
and keeping the students healthier.
Right.
Yeah.
By
Absolutely.
doing that, may not have as many injuries. That's
Right.
that's the whole idea behind
Absolutely.
it. All right, so I'm gonna throw this out because nobody else knows either, so we don't know either. We have no idea what's going to happen with the 2020-21 sports seasons, so we have no idea. But that doesn't prevent you guys from getting ready as if it were just like last year. Now you got a little bit
Absolutely.
more experience. You've gone through it a whole year. You have a better idea what to expect. Has anything changed in the program that you're going to implement this year that maybe you weren't aware of last year, besides Nicole being on board a little bit more?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Anything
Probably
we've
won't do it
talked
until you
about?
get into it, right? Yeah.
Right. I think one thing I'd like to make very clear, though, to the parents is that we're available to you guys as well, too, with
Absolutely.
questions. I think just because we're in the school and we're only there on Wednesdays, there might be a slight disconnect in people understanding that we have full-time jobs as doing what we do. Just because we're only at the school for an hour and a half once a week during school year doesn't mean that you can't call myself at the hospital, doesn't mean that you can't call Brittany at her practice and get a hold of us and say, hey, I'm struggling, I got some questions, it's
Right.
summer, what do I
Sure.
feed my kid,
Oh,
what
yeah.
are some good conditioning skills that we can do? We understand that parents are the number one people who are going to drive their kid in this athletic program just due to the pure fact that you're with them all the time. We're not. So what they're doing at home, what you're feeding them, what they're doing at home as far as exercise, you have full control over that, not us. So please know that we are available to you as well. And it's something that you just need to pick up the phone and call us if you have any questions.
Well, that makes that easy. So how do they get a hold of you?
Call 729-6626, extension 2110, or just call the main hospital number and say, I want to talk to the dietitian, Nicole, food lady. They'll get you to me. Whatever you want to call me, the nutritionist. There's many, many different terms I've been used over the years to find me. So you just call the hospital and you can get a hold of me. And then Brittany, you can call her practice.
And your number at the practice?
My number is 739-9000.
Okay, very good. One last question.
Uh-huh.
Now, obviously, this was new to Salem High School
Mm-hmm.
last year, and I know some other schools have done this. Not many. There haven't been a lot of schools that have a sports medicine program that's
Right.
working in conjunction with their local hospital or maybe even their health center.
Right.
Do you see this as something that's going to continue to grow in high schools and maybe even in the lower middle schools and things of that nature
Yeah.
because it is so important?
Yeah, I hope so. It's hard to say. It's on an individual school basis, but we would love to see it to grow, growth in it, and
I think
continue
it
in other
needs
schools.
to,
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
If people would really understand exactly what the end goal is, and I
Right.
think right now it's just a knowledge base for them of understanding what are you there for, why do we need you,
Right.
what
Right.
could you do for us? That's what I've in my 10 years of my career, I could tell you I've spent 50% of my time explaining what I could do for someone
Right.
because they just don't know.
No, they don't.
Well, and we have started a newsletter that we're
Yes.
sending out to the schools
Okay.
and coaches as
So that's
well.
new.
So yeah, I forgot about it, but we're doing that quarterly right now. But giving the coaches some information, not only from us, but from PT, radiology, the ER. So they have that knowledge and information. So
Well, very good. Well, ladies, very enlightening, and it's a fantastic program. And again, thank you, Brittany, for coming in, spending
Thank
some time
you.
with us, explaining that side of it. Nicole, you going to come back next week?
I mean, if you'll let me.
They're talking about physicals next week. You want to come back?
There we go. We can do that too. I can throw nutrition into pretty much anything we talk about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No, anyway, this is a fantastic program. I wish this program would have been around when I was in high school. It was
Absolutely.
never,
Me too.
you basically did it on your own, and if you had a problem, you talked to your parents, your coaches, try and do the best they can. And many times your coaches only see you at practice and at the games, and that's it, unfortunately, because during the school hours, I mean, I was in a larger school in a city. I never saw my coaches until it was time to go to practice, and if I had a problem, that was when I told them, right before practice or right after practice. Sometimes they didn't want to know until after practice.
Right.
So, yeah, well, I already had a problem. Well, why didn't you tell me? You didn't want to hear it before practice. You're trying to get things prepared.
Right.
So a lot of times, a lot of things in coaching have changed since that time. And we're
Right.
going back into the 70s, so it was a long way back. But a lot of things in coaching and different ideas and practices have changed. And this is one of the good things that I see, that we're getting a little bit more aware of how important nutrition is to athletics and athletes themselves, and keeping healthy, and then addressing that situation when something is going awry, maybe it might be the best word, before it becomes an injury, that you can spot it, and let's get this solved now before it becomes a problem.
Right.
Really, it's a fantastic program, and I'm so glad we got to start here at Salem and keep our kids as healthy as possible. Guys, thanks for coming in and spending some time with us.
Thank you.
And, well, we'll see you again probably in about a year, huh?
There you go.
If I can't, Nicole, I don't know. You might be back
I'll just
every
pop
week.
in randomly and touch base with you.
Well, you're always welcome to come on in anytime you want to. Absolutely. We're going to come back with Civic Happenings next, right?